Hey guys, welcome back. It's hCG Chica. We are on episode 47. I have Amy with me today. She's in the 100-pound weight loss mark. You see her here with her beautiful wavy hair, looking all pretty. So yeah, it's going to be a really nice discussion. She shares like some of her inch loss, which is nice because not everyone keeps track of their inches, and also just her history. You know, a lot of us, the reason that we haven't lost weight sometimes is not really so much just that, you know, our bodies wouldn't respond to a diet, but just the emotional side of eating and all that stuff. So she's got some good input about that with being overweight as a youth and things like that. So welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So give us just your basics, like with your age and your height and things like that.
So I'm 33. I'm 5'8". I class it as my first round, which I started in January. I actually did hCG about 6 years ago, for 2 rounds and had lost 50 pounds. And then got pregnant with my son and had a really bad aversion to meat and gained everything back because it was like carbs and starches.
Yeah.
It was all I could eat.
So when you were pregnant, you were oh, interesting. It's so funny, huh? Like
started over.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. So you said, so what was your starting weight then, and where are you now about?
So my starting weight in January was 306. And I was in like a size, I was squeezing into a 22, but should have been a 24.
That's always where we start. It's that point where you're like, I refuse to buy the next size.
Exactly. I refuse to buy the next size. So I was in a 22 pants and a 3XL shirt, and I did 3 long rounds, and I am now at 202. Well, I ended at 202. I kind of fluctuate a little bit, which
of course,
I'm
that's
good with.
Totally normal. Yeah.
And I am in a size 12 pants and a large shirt.
Wow, that's so amazing. That's such a huge change, you know?
It's a huge change. I didn't even really realize until I was doing my before and after pictures for you. And I went on Pic Collage and did the photo, and it was just like, wow.
What? Because it's do you think it's true that like you kind of get used to your new self in a way after a while? So you don't always realize as much the change at times, or what do you think?
I still see me as overweight me.
Do you? Yeah, gotcha. So it's like you don't actually. So then when you saw it side by side, it was kind of like, oh, I guess I can't deny it now.
I can't deny it, exactly. It's funny that the can't deny it actually hit me about 2 weeks ago. I injured my knee and I was at my physical therapy appointment and saw a guy that I haven't seen in over a year. He's one of my husband's old coworkers.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, how you doing? We sat and chatted, and you could just see the wheels turning, and he's trying and trying and trying. He finally goes, I can't figure out where I know you from. And so that was the realization for me, was I really look
really different. There's a hint of resemblance, but not enough to place you.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was what really hit me, was, I do look different.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you'll probably remember that for a long time, forever.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, that's a huge size change. And then yeah, you mentioned some of your well, you said that your rounds were very long, actually, about 8 weeks.
Yeah, I did 8-week rounds.
How was that for you? Like, overall, did you feel pretty motivated the whole time, or how was that?
It was pretty good. It was pretty easy for me for the most part, because I was highly motivated to get the weight off. Part of it was my husband was deploying midway through my second round.
Okay.
And I really wanted to have the shock factor when he came home, which I did.
Yeah.
And then also I really want to be a surrogate, and I'm reaching the age where I'm kind of getting out of it. And then the only other thing holding me back was my weight.
Gotcha.
So I finally just was like, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it now. So
yeah. You were able to do them because you were really committed,
right,
with your high motivation. So I think that's a good point for everyone else listening or watching to note Because sometimes you may not be in that place, right?
Right.
So in which case you would want to get off sooner. But there have been, in fact, I will link you guys to when I have a blog post because people ask me about it a lot. Like, what do you think about doing longer rounds? And there have been a few others I've interviewed who did do longer ones successfully. So it's you guys are definitely the minority. I always want to make sure people know that, but definitely it has been done. So.
And it's always my advice when talking to people who have asked me about that is you really have to listen to your body.
Mm-hmm.
If you're mentally fighting it every day,
Right.
fighting that urge to cheat, if you're mentally fighting sticking to protocol, end your round early, wean, and ease back into things. It's not worth the long round
Right.
if you're just going to end up cheating that last 2 weeks.
Right. No, it's such good advice because you can undo so much of your effort that way too. So,
Like I actually cut my middle round short by a week, so that one was only about 7.
gotcha.
Because I was getting to that point of like I'm just
I'm done.
done.
Well, that's so good that you are aware of that, and that's really good advice and a good way to gauge, how long you do it. Yeah, I mean, because essentially, really, January of this early in the year to August,
Mm-hmm.
and you lost the 100 pounds in that time.
Yep.
So about 8 months, and you weren't on hCG that whole time. You were doing, 3 different rounds. So that's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. Your inch loss was really neat too, since not everyone keeps track of that. I have in my workbook. I don't know if you guys all know that I have a workbook or not. It's on Amazon. You can get it. Just search hCG diet. It's like one of the first ones. But I actually learned this by watching a YouTube video a long time ago when I was first researching the diet. The lady, she was measuring herself. Oh, you have it. Oh, awesome. So there's the workbook. There's some of the inside. Awesome. It's so fun to see people actually using it.
Yeah, I got it right before my first round.
Nice.
So everything.
So that's why you have all this inch track. I'm like, wow, she even got her neck. I'm like,
Oh.
Yeah, so the reason that I put that in there was because when I was first researching the protocol, I happened to find a video of a woman like doing her before stats or something and after, I can't remember, and she measured her neck and she lost inches in her neck. And I was like,
Yeah.
I would never have thought of that. And so your neck, does it say
2 inches off my neck.
2 inches? Can you guys believe that? So, and it's important because sometimes, like, if your weight loss is a little slow, I don't know if you experience this, if it feels like it's a little slow, or if you only measured in 3 spots and they're staying the same, you might feel like, man, I'm not losing or I'm not getting smaller, but you might be losing in areas that you didn't measure,
Yeah. See, like my first round, I lost a lot through my midsection.
Yeah.
My second round was more overall.
Gotcha.
And then my third round again was more midsection and arms than anything.
Gotcha.
I found my legs I had the least inch loss in.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and I like too that you brought out how each round was different.
Yeah.
Because I had the same experience, and that's why you can't always I know we all want to dictate, like how many pounds we're gonna lose, where we're gonna lose it. It's like this is what I want, but it's we just really don't have that power,
Exactly.
Yeah, so I thought that was neat because I experienced I think it was my 4th round. I didn't lose very much weight that time, but the funny thing is I've always had kind of like stocky legs, and that was the round my leg shape just completely changed. For the better. And I was like, what? Yeah, totally was worth it. And, so those types of things. So it's worth it. Yeah, your wrist, you put it out like 3/4 of an inch.
My ankles was 1/2 inch.
Wow, that's amazing. And then I put your largest overall measurement change was your waist, 14.5 inches. I have a little, I'm going to show you guys. So that's 14.5 inches that is less just on her waist part.
Just on my waist.
Yeah, and then your belly button was 10.25. If you're watching, I'm holding up a tape measure right now. Or if you're listening. Yeah, so I mean that's just
overall it was like 90
plus
inches.
90 inches.
And that's only counting one leg and one arm versus both.
Oh, gotcha. Right. No, that's true.
Doubled up, I guess it would be more. But
yeah, no, but yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and 4 inches off of your Mid-thigh. Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
anyway, let that be a lesson to you all. Like track your
Measure.
inches. Yeah, and do your neck, do your ankle. You'd be surprised, and those little things on the days that you're having a hard time can really be the difference sometimes between you kind of like not cheating. you know, you'd be like, okay,
Measure and sit down and watch a bunch of videos.
yes,
Find that inspiration to push a little bit longer.
yeah, that's good feedback. I like that. So when did your last round end then?
August 19th, 17th.
Okay, so it's actually been a little over 2
Seven.
months now.
Yeah.
Since you finished your round. Awesome. Have you dabbled at all with like phase 4 eating, like with some carbs
Yes.
or not yet? A little bit. Cool. Well,
Yes.
I'll ask you in a little bit about that. Very cool. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about just like your history with weight? Do you have like, is that in your background at all, or what was that like for you?
I've always been overweight as long as I can remember. I can remember as a kid, like laying back on my bed and going, I can't, my ribs don't pop out. I can't feel my ribs. I've got all this tummy fat.
Well,
my whole family was overweight except one sister, and she was a type 1 diabetic. So she's on a whole different spectrum.
right.
So, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of money. So it was you eat fast or you don't necessarily get to go back for more.
Gotcha.
So there was, you know, the discord between eating until you're full or just stuffing yourself to make sure you have enough.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, we lived on a farm, and it was also, you know, hard work, lots of physical work, and
yeah.
you know, that's part of the reason I was bigger. I was very muscular. Because growing up, I was bucking, you know, 80, 90-pound hay bales.
Wow. See, you're telling it like it really is with the farm. This is like totally off subject, but I love farmy stuff, but I know that I totally romanticize it. Like the reality is like so different.
Most people do.
Yeah, like, oh, I want to live on a farm and have hay bales sitting around.
Yeah. It's a lot more work.
Until you have to lift it. Okay, so anyway.
That's what we did. We
Gotcha.
grew hay, and so we didn't have all the machinery to stack it for us.
Wow.
So we stacked it all by hand.
Man.
So I was very muscular, and that's part of what my weight was.
Yeah.
But that was also part of the problem is when I moved away from the farm when I was 18, I was still eating like I was working like that.
Gotcha.
But I wasn't.
Right.
So I piled on a lot really fast.
Gotcha. And did you like at that time? I'm assuming you probably weren't even aware. Like I don't know that I would have thought at 18 like, oh, I'm less active now, so I should eat less. I probably wouldn't have even have known that. You just gain weight. You're like, oh, I don't know what's happening. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I was pregnant at 18 and miscarried. So I had all the emotional stuff from that, and then I had a baby at 20, then I had a baby at 24, and you know, so there was a lot of that. Now also through the whole time growing up, because my whole family was overweight, my mom was like, we're gonna do a diet as a family. And so like even in junior high, I remember being on a really strict diet. We did the cabbage soup diet for a month and a half.
Wow.
Taking my thermos to school with cabbage soup.
Wow.
And having everybody look at me funny.
How do you feel about cabbage these days?
Not terribly fond of cabbage.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So I mean, we did it all. We did all of it. We did Atkins. We did regular low carb. We did slim fast. We did, you know, all the different.
Wow. And so would you guys all lose weight and then like all regain it? All of you guys? Or?
Exactly.
Wow, my goodness.
Exactly. Did it as a family.
Yeah, as a family. At least you were close. Oh, wow. Interesting. And they were just doing what they thought was best,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, my mom actually did hCG with me this year, and she lost like 70 pounds. So.
Wow, that's fantastic. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, so pretty much just your whole lifetime then. Mm-hmm. That's really super cool.
And then with pregnancy, I actually didn't really gain during my pregnancies. I would lose a little bit at first and then come back to about where I was when I got pregnant.
Yeah.
And then the baby would be born, and I'd, all the weight from the fluid and the placenta and the baby and, all of that. I'm like, yay, I'm down 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And within a month or two, it's like 20 pounds and then more.
You're like, oh.
So when I delivered my son in 2009, not 2009, I'm sorry. He's only 3, so 2012.
Yeah.
Somewhere else, I don't know.
It's like,
When I delivered him in 2012, when I went in, I just got all my birth records, and I was 306 when I delivered him.
wow.
3 years later, when I started hCG, I was right back at 306.
Same way. Interesting. Huh. Wow. So that's, I mean, I think that that's an encouraging story in a way for everyone, because a lot of people have started in that same place too. A lot of the people I've interviewed similar, where they were always overweight or the yo-yoing or whatever. But the neat thing is with this protocol, it's really been successful for you. So with these other diets that you would do, it sounds like you said you would kind of lose for the first week or so, and then it kind of petered out.
The first week or two I would lose, and then it would peter out, and I'd completely stall, and then I'd give up, and I'd gain all of it back, and then a little bit more.
Gotcha.
And so that's just the way it went. Every time I'd try something, it was a little bit more and a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, that's just so crazy, huh? How was so now maybe moving into like what phase 2 is like for you? Like the first week, sometimes that's a struggle for people. I was just curious what your experience was when you began.
It wasn't terribly hard for me. Like I said, I already had a little bit of experience with hCG from when I did it 5 or 6 years ago. So I was really familiar with the protocol and what it was like. So I was able to go into it and just be like, okay, I'm doing this. So I did have a little bit of hunger for a couple days, not very much. My main issue was withdrawal headaches for about the first week.
Gotcha. And that is very common, Now you mentioned that you loaded mostly clean. Mostly, not all clean, but mostly. Because sometimes loading clean can help with withdrawal headaches, but maybe not necessarily always, or maybe it depends on the mostly. I don't know.
But mostly was like I wanted cheesecake.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
So, a few things with sugar here and there, but I pretty much avoided the carbs, the starches. It was lots of high-fat proteins and
cool. That's awesome.
Yummy stuff. Lots of pepperoni and sausage.
Yeah, and another thing, I think someone told me about this too. That can cause the detox headaches is because you're losing so much water in the first week, that your electrolyte balance can get really off.
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
I don't know that I had either, but it was in one of my interviews. Maybe I'll try to link to it for you guys, or we'll put the notes of what it is. But so she took like an electrolyte, drink that didn't have sugar in, powder and water. And her doctor actually that prescribed her protocol had her do that. And that's supposed to help too, because you are actually, especially if you're having a lot of weight to lose, you're flushing out a lot of water weight. So now it's like, whoa, so that balance can get really off, apparently. So that might be something to remember or try for you guys out there. I don't know. But the good news is that they do go away. I mean, if you can avoid them, that would be great, which sometimes you can, but if you can't, they don't last the whole round. So
exactly. And they're doable. I mean, I just take a couple of Excedrin with my coffee in the morning, and
right. You're okay. Cool.
That was it.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. I'm curious, did you feel any different when you loaded dirty versus clean, as far as like during the loading or anything?
I really didn't.
It felt the same for you?
It felt the same for me.
So why did you end up choosing to do it the other way after?
Because I was doing my rounds so close together.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go ahead and introduce all the things that I knew triggered me, like potatoes, wheat, and rice are all big triggers for me.
Gotcha.
So I was like, it didn't make sense to me to add those back in,
right,
just to take them out a few days later.
Right. That's smart.
So
yeah, no, that's smart that you did that. What was hard about the protocol for you overall?
The hardest part for me was dealing with the emotional eating issues. it wasn't, following the protocol was easy. It's very structured. You know what to do.
Yeah.
P3 is a little bit more murky, but
Yeah.
really it was dealing with my emotional eating issues and wanting to bury everything in food. Like I said, my husband deployed during my second round, and it really brought to the surface that I'm not actually hungry.
Yeah.
I'm just really emotional right now, and I want to hide that.
Gotcha.
So I want to eat.
Gotcha.
So that really brought me face to face with dealing with that issue.
Gotcha. How did you go about dealing with that, or
Keeping busy, very, very busy. We started homeschooling. I quilt and I do various crafts of that nature.
Nice.
And then trying to be around people rather than like, oh, I'm on hCG, I can't go out, I can't do things.
Yeah.
Being around people really helped me keep my mind off the emotional side of wanting to eat.
Gotcha.
So for me, I think it's a little bit opposite, where
Yeah.
a lot of people want to hibernate while they're on hCG so they aren't tempted.
Right.
I really wanted that support and those people around me.
Yeah. That's so good that you figured that out, because I feel like the vast majority of the time, each person that's gonna succeed on their round, it is really about finding out what's unique about what works for you, and it really sometimes is the opposite of the majority of people. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, well, this is what works. So yeah.
No, I told one of my friends, I was like, if you haven't seen me, come knock on my door and drag me out of the house, because that means that I'm getting into that not self-loathing,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
dragging myself down, and I'm getting into that funk.
Yeah, that cave.
I need somebody to pull me out.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, we spent a lot of time at the beach. There's no food at the beach.
It's true. Yeah, that's true.
There's
Awesome.
no beach unless you bring
Sand.
it. So we spent a lot of time at the beach over the summer during my second and third rounds.
Cool. That's great. I think that's such good advice. Like finding ways to pass the time and make your life, I mean, living your life basically, you know, in a way that the time is going by and you're distracted, so you don't, like, it's funny, I think we might talk about this in a minute too, because you mentioned intermittent fasting in your notes, but yeah, like the days that I intermittent fast, I always make sure it's in general a busy day in some way, usually a hCG work day, because I fasted yesterday, and it was because I had so much to do. Like I meant to eat more in the evening, and I ended up being so busy that I ate chicken breast, and then like I didn't eat again for a few more hours again, even though I meant to eat more, just because so much to do. Yeah. But it was easy because I was just so busy, you know.
And I'm the same way when I've got birth stuff going on, whether I'm meeting with a client or I've got a doula circle or I'm taking trainings or whatever. Those are the days that I do my fasting. Most days I don't eat until lunch. I get up, I have my coffee, I drink a bunch of water, and I don't eat until lunch. So I've got a good 12 to 14 hours of fasting in, and then I have lunch and dinner. And then,
nice. That's how I eat too, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not hungry for breakfast, so.
Yeah, every once in a while I do, but not very often.
My body is actually so trained now that a couple times we went out for breakfast when I don't usually ever eat it, and it was kind of a heavier breakfast, like, you know, with a bacon and eggs, and I had a really bad stomach ache because my gastric juices, I think, digestive, it's just, my body's not accustomed to that anymore, you know, so it was like, So, all right, so are you a doula or
a doula?
Oh, that's awesome.
And I also just finished my hypnobirthing practitioner training to start teaching hypnobirthing.
Wow. I tried so hard to have a home birth, and I had a doula and 2 midwives.
It's your baby's journey. You can't always.
I wanted it so bad, and then I ended up having to go to the hospital, but I tried at home for like 3 days. Yeah, and it just.
You can do all the preparations in the world, but ultimately it's your baby's journey, and they have to do what they feel is right for them.
Yeah, and I was still so grateful, though. Sorry, you guys, we're just talking about our own thing for a minute, but I was grateful for just the experience, though, of like they came to my home wherever, I can't remember now, it was once a month or. And then later, after the baby was born, then they came and would weigh him in my home, and that was really nice, you know. So, but that's a special job. That's awesome. That is awesome. So you actually will fast when you on those types of busy days. That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on how long the birth is going to be, I keep like a protein shake and a bag of cashews in my birth bag.
Yeah.
But usually I keep that as my fasting day.
Very cool. Yeah, that's smart. And, because some people worry about feeling like weak or low blood sugar, and obviously it sounds like you're pretty busy on those days. My doula worked pretty hard with me. um, so do you feel okay on those days?
I felt great.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I haven't had any problems.
That's nice. Yeah, and then like you said, you do have a little backup if you need it, if it goes on longer than usual, which it probably often does. Sometimes, no.
I've had a few long ones, but most
Really?
aren't actually that long.
That's good. I have like the longest birth in history. It was like 100 hours. Not kidding. Oh, okay. I should start a blog about that. Like people who've had hard labors.
Tell me your story.
I know. I'll tell you after we end this interview. It was horrendous. I couldn't even look at the pictures of the birth for like a year because I was like traumatic.
If it still is an issue, I would highly suggest finding somebody who does birth story medicine.
Yeah.
They're trained with birthing from within,
Oh, interesting.
and they'll basically sit down and help you process and work
Nice.
through it and figure out why things went the way they went,
Yeah.
how you can be okay with it.
Yeah, no, I mean that sounds cool. Yeah, because eventually I was able to look at them with not so much emotion, but it was very traumatic. So anyway, okay, sorry you guys. We're gonna talk later. Okay. So all right, so since we were talking about the fasting, I'm curious. Why don't we just discuss that for a minute? You do that now, like in phase 3 and phase 4. It sounds like. How often would you say you intermittent fast?
The not eating until lunch is most every day. And then maybe once a week, I do like a full fasting day and just eat dinner.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like a 24-hour, and then I eat dinner and into the next day. That's probably once a week.
Gotcha. Cool. That's great. Yeah, and you guys, so what she's saying is she's never actually going an entire day without food. She's eating dinner. So, right? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what I do in my fast too.
And then the next day I'll eat nothing until dinner.
Right. And it's really easy. It's actually pretty easy, you guys. Because it's not like you're not, if you weren't eating dinner, I think that would make it a little bit harder. Like, also, like, oh.
Then I'd wake up in the morning and I wouldn't be able to not eat my breakfast.
Yeah, like, okay, it's breakfast.
But no, I do dinner to dinner.
Gotcha. Yeah, and once a week is a great time frame too for intermittent fasting. It's a great way to either like maintain or even to lose a little bit of fat on your own. If you want, if you just have a little bit, or if you screw up a little bit, it's good for that too, So
that's the other thing is I'll do it after I do something that I normally wouldn't. Like if we go out for dinner somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll do my intermittent fasting the next day to kind of balance out.
Yeah.
What I've done.
Yeah. No, that's so smart. I really feel like that's part of the key to success is like, because you can go to both extremes, it's like you don't want to be binging and purging, obviously. So sometimes people get freaked out about the idea of fasting because it takes their mind to thinking that like, oh, someone's being extreme, but there's a middle ground, And so I do the same thing. It's like if I know I'm going to go or have a nice large meal for dinner, I might actually fast that day and eat my nice large meal because then it's kind of like I was preemptive and I have nothing to fix. Yeah. Like that feels good. Yeah.
It's kind of like doing a steak day. You don't eat anything, then you have your dinner and you're done.
Yeah. So, and then, or like you said, having it as a corrective measure really gives you a lot of control, so that's really nice. Cool. That's really great. Usually when do you break your fast when you have dinner? What time would you say?
We normally eat right about 6 p.m.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's about what I would do too. Yeah. That's really cool. How about now on phase 2, you did a few different kind of rogue off protocol foods and stuff. I'd like to hear about them so everyone can hear.
So I have found the lean ham from Costco.
Yeah.
Doesn't stall me at all.
Yeah.
And also the low calorie Laughing Cow cheeses.
Yeah.
Don't stall me. So almost every day my lunch would be a couple slices of the Costco ham with 1 Laughing Cow cheese split between them, stick a pickle in it and roll it up. And you have a little ham roll up.
Yeah.
And then tomatoes or something on the side.
Yeah, nice.
And that was just about every day.
Gotcha.
I also found a recipe for pancakes that I love.
Yeah.
They're egg whites, 3 egg whites, 1 whole egg, a little bit of stevia and cinnamon, and psyllium husks.
Oh.
And they puff up like a pancake would.
Yeah.
So I would do that and then put some applesauce on top and do a veggie on the side.
That sounds really yummy.
It's good. I actually still make them now.
How much psyllium seed was in the, would you say, in a serving? A tablespoon. Gotcha. Cool. That sounds really neat. That sounds cool. Well, I might maybe find the recipe or get it or something like that. We can put it in the show notes. Maybe.
There's an hCG support group on Facebook. That's where I found it.
Gotcha. Cool. That sounds really neat.
I also used ground turkey. I did cauliflower and broccoli and green beans, and I had no issues with any of those.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, a lot of people have been doing those other vegetables without a problem now in general, you know.
The other one that I used was the, what are they called? The Hebrew National all-beef hot dogs.
Okay.
I would use those. I would slice them up and then stir fry them kind of with sauerkraut.
Okay. Ooh, sauerkraut.
Mustard, and that was another easy go-to dinner. Like if we were out running around all day and I didn't have time to actually sit down and prep anything.
Right.
It was all just in the fridge and easy to pull out.
Gotcha. How did you figure out like amounts of some of these different things to eat? How did you choose that?
Basically, I would look at how much it is cooked, and kind of go down a little bit because 100 grams of meat, if uncooked,
right,
it's probably going to be somewhere between 80 and 85 grams cooked.
Right.
So I just kind of estimated it a little bit and it seemed to do okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see any smaller losses. Like there was no trackable difference between days that I did stuff like that and that I didn't.
Gotcha. And you said that you tried to be cautious of that, like kind of gauging like what happened when you would try things.
That's something that the first time I did hCG years back, I was very conscious of trying things and seeing what happened.
Right.
So I was aware of how that whole process worked already, and was able to like, okay, once I'm a week or two into it, and I know, because there's also the big stall that usually happens right about 2 weeks. Right. If you're doing it for the first time and you don't know that, it can get really frustrating. You're like, I had these great losses and now I'm losing nothing.
Right.
So that's another good one to be really aware of is you'll have great losses for a week and a half, and then you'll have a little stall, and that's your body just trying to catch up.
Right.
So being aware of that is really important. But I would test it. Okay, I'm going to try this here. I'm going to wait 3 days, and then I'll try it again.
Yeah.
Wait another 3 days, and kind of gauge off of that what my body was doing with those foods.
Cool. That's good. That's a lot of self-control.
I would usually try it 3 times before I decided if it worked for me or not.
Nice. That's very methodical. Yeah, that's good. And actually, for the record, I also had lean ham deli meat or whatever from Trader Joe's. It was like a real lean one with no sugar or whatever. I mean, because you can get honey. I mean, be careful, you guys. Don't be just getting stuff with corn syrup in it.
You have to read the ingredients.
Yeah, but I would do the ham and I would chop it up in a salad. And I would use just a little bit. Again, this is also off protocol. This is just a totally off protocol conversation right now, just so you guys know. With a little bit of fat-free Greek yogurt for my dressing and salt and a little vinegar. Oh my goodness, it was so good.
Yeah,
really
deviled eggs was another one that I love to do as an easy, quick, like on really hot days.
Yeah.
I would either use 1 Laughing Cow cheese or a little bit of Greek yogurt in place of the mayonnaise.
Yeah, and actually, regarding the Laughing Cow cheese, I don't know how much like calories or fats in those, but my interview 45, she's the one who's all into weightlifting now, and she also lost like 100 and something pounds, and she's been maintaining for like a year now. She actually also ate those on hCG, because I remember originally feeling like, oh, I don't know about those. Like green beans I can see, but like it makes me feel a little nervous like to recommend that. But she also did that, so I thought that was interesting.
Part of the way I looked at it was we're allowed depending on which protocol you look at.
Right.
Certain groups are like, it's okay if you have a little bit of milk, like a tablespoon of milk a day, or it's okay if you have a tablespoon of Greek yogurt, or if you have a quarter cup of cottage cheese.
Right.
And so instead of using those things, I would use the Laughing Cow.
Yeah, and it was like a little piece too.
Exactly, one wedge is 35 calories.
I think that's why. I think it's small, so yeah, that makes sense.
And so if I was going to use a Laughing Cow cheese, I wouldn't do the cottage cheese or the milk or the yogurt in the same day.
Gotcha. Cool. It's good. It's good to clarify all that. I think that's helpful. So you guys, even though like she's doing these different things, if you don't get the whole story, it might sound like, oh, she's just eating lots of, hot dogs and it's fine. Like,
I never let any of my road foods overlap in the same day, except the ham and the Laughing Cow.
Yeah.
So I didn't have like ham for lunch and then all beef hot dogs for dinner.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, and it was very controlled. You were still using a certain amount that you weighed out, and
exactly.
So yeah, no, that's all really good feedback there. Very cool. Well, do you have any just little tips for staying sane on P2 for others?
Find a hobby.
Yeah. Are you the one that was on my Periscope that one time when I was asking about that? Was that you? No. And I was like, what do you guys do to like stay sane and stay busy, or no? Okay. Because I was saying the same thing. Like, you got to find a hobby or a craft. And so people were mentioning the ones that they did.
Yes, I started sewing when I was a kid. My mom started me when I was like 5 or 6.
Cool.
So sewing's always been in my life, so it's really easy to pick up and go,
nice.
I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna keep my hands busy and my mind busy.
Yeah.
Finding things to keep your mind off the I want food, I want food, I want food.
Yeah.
Because it's so ingrained in our culture. Every time we go somewhere, there's food. Every time we get together, there's food.
Yeah.
It's such a central part that you kind of have to break that habit and find other things.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that's really one of my stay sane tips is just find a hobby.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I actually quilt as well.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in a couple years actually. It's in storage right now, but yeah, I love it. I think it's so fun. Yeah, and it's fun, you guys. I mean, it's neat to learn something new depending on your time. And now, honestly, online, there's so many online courses now where you can learn, like, you might be like, oh, there's nothing in my city, or I don't have time to go to a class on, at night out somewhere. If you look online, just Google, like, whatever you're interested, like embroidery or quilting, and I bet you'll find an online video course.
Yeah,
showing you stuff.
Just about everything.
Yeah, it's getting now. People are making all sorts of stuff, photography, whatever, Yeah. So, I liked also that you mentioned that you portioned out your food and prepped and stuff. Do you want to talk about that and your sauces? That the sauces thing was cool.
I ordered way back when I did hCG forever ago. I ordered an hCG cookbook which had a lot of sauces and stuff in it. So my first weekend on hCG, I would always prepare all my sauces. I'd make marinara, and I'd make my mustard sauces, and I would make different dressings.
Yeah.
So that they were all in the fridge and ready for me. So no matter what I wanted, it was there.
Yeah.
It also made barbecuing a lot better because I had my own barbecue sauce.
That's true.
And I knew what was in it, and I wasn't like going, well, this one maybe I might be able to use.
Right.
And I didn't have to sink the money into the really expensive dressings that you can find on Amazon.
They are, yeah.
And then I would also buy my meat raw, and I would weigh and portion it all out and put it in individual baggies in a big baggie. So I had like a gallon-sized Ziploc with my chicken, and I had a gallon-sized Ziploc with steak in.
Smart.
So all of that, and it was in individual packages, and I kept one of every type of protein in the fridge thawed.
Ooh.
So if I was like, I really want chicken for dinner, or I really want fish for dinner, or I really want that, it was in the fridge and ready for me, and I would rotate through my proteins. So it's like, okay, chicken's been in there for 2 days, I should use that one.
Yeah.
And rotate through.
So then every time you would pull one meat out, would you
I'd
replace
pull meat
it?
out of the fridge, I'd put one from the freezer.
That's so smart, because that's my problem a lot of times is I'll be like, I forgot to defrost something. But if you make it a habit, like you said, you pull it out, you put it in. So, and that's great. So, okay, I just want to clarify and repeat it so we can all get it. So you have a gallon bag, and then you have your 100-gram portions of meat in their own individual bags.
Exactly.
All in there, like several, and then like one of chicken, one of beef. That's such a great idea. And then you keep one of each kind thawed in the
Kind in the
fridge.
fridge.
And then with the sauces, like, don't they go bad though after a few days or a week? Or?
I would freeze the ones that can be frozen.
Great. I see.
The marinara I actually canned, so those were in jars in my pantry.
Nice.
The mustard sauce, again, it was one that I canned.
Yeah.
And then the ones that go bad, I would just make small portions, and they'd be good for a couple weeks, and then I'd make my next portion.
That's so nice. Which recipe book did you make them from? Do you remember? Or you just do them now on your own head?
No, it was like hCG cookbook or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's up in my cupboard somewhere.
Oh, I wonder if it's. I'm just wondering if it's Tammy Sky's, because back then she was the only one that had one.
Probably.
So if it is, it's because she had like 200 recipes in there.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's probably it. So we'll link to that as well, because it had the sauce recipes.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's Tammy Sky, you guys, and it's called like hCG Diet Gourmet Cookbook.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got like 200 or.
That's the one.
Yeah, because I was thinking if it was a few years ago that she was the only one who had a cookbook at that time, I think. Yeah. So it's great.
There were a few that I was like, that's really, really heavy on the tang, and so I would alter a little bit to my taste.
Nice, that's perfect. So yeah, we'll link to that if you guys want to make some homemade sauces, because it's true, it's much cheaper. Mm-hmm. There are a lot more resources now online if you have the funds and you just really don't want to bother with it. But they definitely are like super pricey, especially because they're like mostly water. It's like water with a few spices and like half a tomato. But they're probably killing it there. But sometimes you want the convenience, so that's fine too. But if you have the time or the energy, then the sauce making it is, and then also it is really healthy too and doesn't have preservatives and
you can make it to your own taste.
Yeah, it's so true. It's true. I like that. So marinara, mustard sauce. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Those are cool ones. Well, you probably got to go soon. I'm kind of keeping you a little bit here. I think we kind of covered. Okay, cool. Keeping you from your children. Feel bad. I think we mostly covered it. Maybe just the last thing was, comparing your life pre-hCG versus post weight loss. Like, what types of differences in your life? Like, what memories then? How's like different for you now?
I have a lot more stamina.
Okay.
Back to birth work is sometimes it can be extremely intensive.
Yeah.
Trying to keep a mom comfortable during labor, and I can keep up with it so much better now. Before, just going up and down the stairs, I would be winded. I couldn't run or play with my kids. I still can't right now, but
because you said you have an injury, right?
Yeah, we went to the beach and I got taken out by a wave and tore my MCL.
Oh my goodness.
So I've been in a leg brace that's like the top of my thigh to the bottom of my calf.
Oh my goodness.
4/7 for the last 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
So I still can't chase them.
Yeah.
I can, even with that brace on, I can still keep up with them much better than I did before.
And you can threaten, like as soon as this cast comes off, I'm gonna chase you. Oh, funny. Aww.
So yeah, like even going up and down the stairs and stuff would get me winded before, and it's fine now.
Awesome.
I just feel better overall.
Gotcha.
And it's
better. Yeah.
I almost regret not doing it sooner, but I also know that I wasn't quite at that point where I was mentally ready to make the change. That's my other piece of advice, my big piece of advice for people when they ask me how I lost the weight and, I want to try it. Don't do it for somebody else. You have to do it for you.
It's true.
If you're trying to make changes to make somebody else in your life happy, you're just going to make yourself miserable.
Right.
So I really had to be at that point that I was ready to make the changes for me.
That's good. Yeah, no, I think that's such good advice. I think that's true with a lot of things in life, that you kind of have to do things. I tried to learn guitar from my husband a few times. It never worked. Like, I just don't care enough. Yeah. So I would just this is too hard.
You have to do it for you.
You got to be passionate about it yourself, and yeah, that's really good advice. So in phase 3 and phase 4 now, like how do you eat these days to maintain?
At this point, I'm mostly, I do the intermittent fasting, and then mostly it's like low carb, high fat type diet. I found through weaning and adding things back in, my body does not react well to potatoes, rice, and wheat. So those I have very, very rarely.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot of, proteins, fruits, and vegetables is pretty much what I do.
That's cool. Would you say on like the fruits, or do you have a pretty wide variety of fruits that you can eat, or?
I try and stick to the low glycemic index fruits.
Okay.
Just
like berries and
berries. I don't do bananas. I don't do pineapple.
Gotcha.
Things that are really high in sugar.
Right.
I try to keep out. I do apples and oranges, and then mostly like raspberries and strawberries.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot more in the berry realm than.
Yeah, because you're right. They're nice low carbish ones. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. And that sounds like that's been working for you really good the last couple months. So.
Yep. And I have had my days where it's like, okay, we're gonna order pizza for dinner.
Yeah.
Order pizza.
Yeah.
Normally, if we're gonna do pizza, I make my own crust. I follow the fathead crust recipe, which is a lot of cream cheese and I think it's Parmesan.
Okay.
Together with a little bit of almond flour. And if you want to find it, it's just fathead pizza crust.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look it up. We'll have that in the show notes for you guys. Yep.
Yeah. So normally, if we're gonna do pizza, I'll make my own crust. But there's days that I'm just like, I don't want to put in the work.
Right.
Or we're going out for dinner, and I'll have something on the side.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any issues with that. I'll go up maybe a pound, half a pound.
Yeah.
And then the next day with intermittent fasting, I'm right back down.
That's great. Probably feels good too to like actually have this experience with what it's like to maintain weight.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people have spent their whole life either gaining or losing, never kind of really staying the same in a place they chose to be. Right. And so that can be empowering,
Yeah. I was talking with my husband on Skype one day. Shortly after I had finished this last round. And I was like, I'm down to 199. I'm down to 198. My body's actually working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And he's like, you just don't feel broken anymore. I'm like, no, I don't feel broken. I'm maintaining. I'm losing on my own when I actually pay attention to what I'm eating. And most days I don't count my calories or any of that. I just eat until I'm hungry or until I'm full.
Yeah.
Or not even eat until I'm full. It's mostly I eat until I'm not hungry.
Gotcha.
And there's a big difference there too. The feeling of fullness takes time for your body to register.
Right.
So I just eat until I don't feel hungry.
Cool.
But yeah, that feeling of not being broken was just overwhelming that day. I was like,
That's cool.
I'm okay.
That's really
good.
Cool. Yeah. Aww. That's so cool. And hopefully, I think a lot of women out there are having similar experiences, and so if you're watching or listening and you're not there yet, just keep at it, right? Yeah.
Keep at it, and when everything comes together, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's good. Well, congratulations on your 100 pounds down and maintaining, and so keep up the good work.
Yeah. I'll probably do one more round next year.
Yeah.
If I don't, start surrogacy stuff, I'll probably do another round next year and lose maybe 20.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about being able to take your time though, and
because
you're in a place now where you feel healthy. So
exactly.
Yeah. That's cool.
And like I was telling one of my friends now, I'm smaller now than I was in high school.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy for me. I've never been this small in my adult life.
Wow.
And it's really a mental adjustment, like looking in the mirror and going, that really is me. Okay.
That really is me.
All right, it's me.
It is me. Aw, that's really cool.
It's an adjustment, but it's a good one.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. All the little personal things, and hope you guys enjoyed our episode today. So this was episode 47. If you want to go back and find any of the things we talked about, we'll try to have links to everything in the show notes. It's under interviews. And then if you want to see any of the other 46 interviews I've done, you can go to hcgchica.com/interviews, and it has all of them there. They're all free and they're all half hour to an hour. So with, just personal, and that's what I love about these, is that we're all everyday people, making a really significant change that is typically one of the most hard changes, the hardest change to make, especially to make it last, so I feel like this really helps us to stay on the right path. So anyway, okay, you guys, well, have a good rest of your day or whenever you're listening to this, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.